Su Hong stood calmly over his defeated opponent. The crowd shouted in disbelief, wondering how he became so strong, with some suspecting he was already a Tier 1 martial artist. They announced the final match would happen next. In the stands, Instructor Chen stared at Su Hong, confused about where this student came from and why he missed private tutoring. Principal Lee blamed himself for failing to notice him earlier. Principal Lee felt he had wasted a talent by not training Su Hong sooner. Instructor Chen mentioned Su Hong looked familiar but couldn't remember where he had seen him. They turned their attention to the semi-final match between Chen Shan and Li Tu, noting the winner would be decided soon. Watching the fight, they saw the two were evenly matched, making the winner hard to predict. On stage, Li Tu warned Chen Shan that since they both used the Three Echoes Thunder Rush Fist, Chen needed his strongest move to win. Li Tu then attacked with full force. Li Tu charged, slamming his fist down explosively. Chen Shan shouted as he blocked, the impact blasting wind across the floor. Chen Shan's fist burst with flames. He yelled at Li Tu to watch closely, declaring himself the school's true number one. The students shouted in shock that Chen Shan had mastered attribute externalization. They recognized the powerful fire attribute, second only to thunder. Li Tu stepped forward with a smirk, energy flowing like water around his arm. He scoffed that attribute externalization was nothing special. The students gasped again, seeing Li Tu also had externalized attributes. His was metal, even stronger than fire in combat. Metallic chains swirled around Li Tu's fists as he dashed ahead to attack. His punches echoed 5 times. Chen Shan was shocked to see Li Tu unleash the 5 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist. A violent impact followed. Li Tu's strike blasted his opponent backward, sending shockwaves across the arena. Principal Li and Instructor Chen were stunned. Li noted Li Tu had hidden his strength, while Chen marveled that Li Tu mastered attribute externalization and the micro-level Thunder Rush Fist in just 10 days. Principal Li said the final was pointless. Su Hong couldn't beat Li Tu's metal attribute. Chen sighed, saying Su Hong might have had a chance if he knew a guidance technique. Jiang Ming confidently bet 50,000 on Su Hong. Shocked, Li called him crazy for betting on someone without a guidance technique. Chen laughed, happy to take the easy money. The final battle began. Li Tu against Su Hong. Students cheered, some for Su Hong, others urging Li Tu to win. The fighters stepped onto the stage. Li Tu told Su Hong he was lucky to reach the finals without facing him or Chen Shan earlier. Su Hong remained calm. After hunting beasts, these students seemed weak, but Li Tu finally looked like a worthy opponent. Li Tu grinned, calling Su Hong the second strongest. Su Hong simply asked who the first was. Li Tu stomped the ground, declaring that he was naturally number one. He attacked, claiming one move would show the huge gap between them. Students panicked, seeing Li Tu use the 5 Echoes Thunder Rush Fist immediately. They feared it was already over for Su Hong, but Su Hong's eyes glowed with golden light as power built up inside him. Flames burst from his fist as he charged, wanting to test the limits of his physical body. The crowd screamed that Su Hong was crazy for meeting the attack head-on instead of dodging. Their fists smashed together explosively, shaking the ground. They clashed repeatedly, sending energy bursts through the air. Su Hong met the thunderous attack directly. Li Tu was shocked that Su Hong stopped his 5 Echoes fist instantly with just 5 punches. They fought on, fists colliding in a storm of blows amidst whipping energy chains. Li Tu gritted his teeth. Every punch from Su Hong felt overwhelmingly heavy, like fighting a monster. In the stands, a teacher exclaimed that Su Hong was evenly matching Li Tu without using any martial skills. His friend shouted that his strength was terrifying. The officials were stunned. Chen guessed Su Hong had a special physique. Principal Li laughed, proud the school produced such a genius. However, Chen noted that despite Su Hong's strength, Li Tu's condensed attribute still gave him the edge. The clash sent both sliding back. Su Hong steadied his flaming fist, while Li Tu was forced back several meters. Angry, Li Tu shouted that he would win. Blue lightning surged around his arms as he powered up. He lunged, fists wrapped in energy chains, demanding Su Hong accept defeat. Su Hong realized Li Tu was no longer holding back and was attacking at full power. Since Li Tu went all out, Su Hong decided to show some respect. Flames burst from his fist as he sprinted to meet the attack. Lightning burst across the arena. Li Tu yelled in shock, realizing Su Hong could also use attribute externalization. Principal Li and Instructor Chen trembled as golden lightning filled the arena, leaving them speechless. They were stunned Su Hong had mastered the Thunder Guidance technique. Chen explained that a special physique combined with the Thunder attribute made him terrifying. Su Hong and Li Tu clashed again, causing lightning and chains to explode everywhere. Li Tu realized with alarm that Su Hong's Thunder attribute was stronger than his own metal attribute. Lightning coiled around Su Hong. He told Li Tu that since he revealed his ultimate move, he would answer properly. Su Hong's eyes glowed gold. He announced his ultimate move and charged using the Thunder Rush Fist. His strike landed explosively. The impacts echoed rapidly, driving Li Tu back as 9 echo bursts blasted across the arena. 9 echoes impossible! Li Tu shouted. Blood burst from his mouth as he crashed to the ground. Su Hong stood over him, thunder still crackling around his fists. The students fell silent, their faces frozen in pure shock. Someone finally asked if he won. Excitement erupted as they realized Su Hong reached the perfect realm. 9 echoes, surpassing even the teachers. Instructor Chen stuttered in disbelief. Principal Li trembled, declaring Su Hong not just a genius, but the dragon of Star City High. Chen wiped his sweat, imagining how devastated other geniuses in the training camp would be facing a monster like Su Hong. As Su Hong walked away, Chen admired him. He said a golden carp transforms into a dragon when it meets the wind. Star City was too small for him. Principal Li agreed. He predicted Su Hong would rise like a dragon, shining brightest in the imperial capital and the battlefield of 10,000 races. Su Hong arrived back at his cramped apartment building just as the sun was going down. Inside, the mood was warm as Su Hong's uncle served a simple dinner. Su Hong said he was home, and his uncle immediately asked how the exam went that day. Smiling, Su Hong told them he had taken first place in the monthly exam. His uncle was shocked and overjoyed, while his auntie realized this ranking meant he could finally go to the special training camp he had mentioned before. Suddenly, loud knocking on the door interrupted their celebration. A woman's voice shouted rudely from the hallway, demanding to know if this was Su Hong's house. Su Hong opened the door looking confused, while his uncle and aunt peeked out nervously from behind him to see who the stranger was. A wealthy-looking woman stood there, wearing expensive clothes and jewelry. She introduced herself as the mother of a student named Lin Nian. She explained that since only the top 3 students could enter the training camp and her son was ranked 4th, she had come to convince Su Hong to give up his spot. She arrogantly held out a stack of cash, offering Su Hong 30,000 to drop out so her son could take his place. Su Hong and his family just stared at her in silence, looking more confused than tempted by the sudden bribe. Seeing that the money didn't work immediately, the woman got furious. She switched to intimidation, shouting that the competition in the camp was extremely cruel and that people could actually die there. She looked down on their poverty, sneering that with their poor family background, giving up early was for his own good. She claimed other students had high-grade pills and resources he couldn't afford. Her harsh words terrified Su Hong's auntie. She looked at her nephew with fear in her eyes, asking if what the woman said was true, and if it was really that dangerous. Su Hong's uncle placed a hand on his wife's back to calm her down, while Su Hong stood there silently. Finally, the uncle looked at Su Hong with a serious, sweaty face, asking if Su Hong could truly guarantee his safety if he went. Su Hong stepped forward confidently, declaring that he could guarantee his own safety. The rich woman scoffed, asking the uncle if he really believed the promise of a child. However, the uncle immediately defended his nephew. He shouted that he trusted Su Hong because he was an adult now, and he certainly wasn't going to trust a stranger over his own family. Defeated, the woman was forced to leave and the door slammed shut behind her. Outside in the hallway, she was furious. She looked back at the apartment and cursed them, shouting that they were just waiting to be eliminated from the training camp. Inside, things calmed down. Su Hong's uncle asked if Su Hong had hidden the danger of the camp from them on purpose. Su Hong tried to reassure them that it was fine. His uncle smiled broadly and gave him a thumbs up. He admitted that he was a simple man, but he understood that if Su Hong had the determination to face such difficulties, the family had to support him fully. Suddenly, his aunt slapped his uncle on the back to break the tension, surprising both Su Hong and his uncle. She told him they didn't care about his ranking. They only wanted him to stay safe. Su Hong smiled warmly and nodded, relieved to have their blessing. Later that night, Su Hong stood alone on the rooftop, looking out over the city skyline. He thought about his uncle and aunt, knowing that despite their supportive words, they were secretly worried. He promised himself that he would not let them down and needed to become stronger to protect their new life. He opened his system interface. He saw that he had gained 285 martial value points from the monthly exam, but felt it wasn't enough. He looked at his mortal body stat, which was currently at 36.1%. Knowing he would face geniuses with powerful secret moves at the camp, he decided to focus on upgrading his physical body to compete with them. He began adding points into the mortal body stat. Red energy flashed around him as the percentage slowly climbed up, point by point. After the upgrade, steam rose from his body. His mortal body had reached 64.6%. He realized he was still a long way from 100%, and wondered what kind of special body type he would unlock once he finished it. Suddenly, he noticed a surprise on his status screen. He was confused to see that both his Thunder Guidance technique and Heavenly Flame Guidance technique had leveled up to level 2 without him realizing it. Su Hong realized that he had only practiced the guidance techniques for a few days without doing anything special. He wondered if there were no extra conditions required, and if simply practicing normally allowed them to level up. Deciding to test this theory immediately, he said he would try to level up one more time. Lightning crackled in one hand and flames blazed in the other as he began to gather his energy. The sun rose over the city the next day at dawn, casting light over the skyscrapers. Su Hong snapped his eyes open, his gaze sharp and focused after a night of training. He sat cross-legged, surrounded by a powerful aura of fire and electricity. His hard work had paid off. A message appeared confirming that both his Thunder Guidance technique and Heavenly Flame Guidance technique had successfully upgraded to level 3. He checked his status panel with satisfaction. He saw that not only had the techniques leveled up, but his vitality had also increased by 3 points, reaching 126. He considered this an unexpected bonus. His mortal body progress sat at 64.6%, and he had used up all his martial value. Later that morning, Su Hong stood outside his apartment building, ready to leave for the training camp with his weapon over his shoulder. His aunt looked at him with great worry, telling him to be safe and reminding him that if it didn't work out, he could just come home. His uncle interrupted, telling his wife not to say such sad things. He waved enthusiastically at Su Hong, encouraging him to go to the camp and bring back another first-place victory. Su Hong smiled, agreed, and turned to walk away. As Su Hong walked down the empty street, his uncle's brave act began to break. He stood there trembling, watching his nephew's back. Tears ran down the uncle's face as he finally let his emotions show. His aunt joked with him, asking if he wasn't just as worried as she was. The uncle admitted he was, but he had held it in because he was afraid that if he showed his fear, Su Hong would worry about them. As Su Hong walked down the street carrying his weapon, his senses picked up something approaching. He looked up just as a red sports car sped around the corner and screeched to a stop right next to him. The window rolled down to reveal President Wu Lingxian wearing sunglasses. She simply ordered him to get in. Soon they were speeding down the highway. Su Hong asked the president why she had come for him personally. Wu Lingxian kept her eyes on the road and explained that she had some important reminders about the training camp. She turned to him, her expression serious, and revealed that as the president, she knew the details of the other participants. She warned him that among the students there were a few monsters who were already Tier 1 high-stage martial artists and were very close to reaching Tier 2. She emphasized that these monsters had martial skills that were at least B rank. Su Hong listened and thought about the situation. He knew a Tier 2 martial artist required 200 vitality points, which was a big gap. However, he wasn't afraid. He thought to himself that even if they had B rank skills, his system would allow him to learn those high-level skills quickly. Wu Lingxian continued, telling him that while his talent was the best she had ever seen, he lacked the resources the other wealthy students had. She comforted him, saying that even if he faced failure in the camp, he shouldn't feel bad because surpassing them was only a matter of time for him. Su Hong smiled with genuine confidence and thanked her, calling her Sister Wu. Wu Lingxian watched him silently. She noted that even though he knew his stats and skills were currently lower than the others, he remained completely calm. She thought to herself that she didn't need to worry about his mindset causing any problems. The black van carrying the students wound its way through the scenic roads of the Tianlin Mountains. Inside, the students panicked. Li Tu and Li Ming were shocked the camp was in a place famous for fierce beasts. President Wu Lingxian tried to calm them, saying a grandmaster was presiding, so their lives weren't in danger. Su Hong sat quietly, analyzing the situation. He knew this range spanned multiple cities and held dense spiritual energy, but also beast kings comparable to Tier 7 grandmasters. It was a place governed by the law of the jungle, where beasts fought cruelly. The danger was high. Even a standard Tier 2 martial artist would not dare to tread here easily. As the car sped through the forest, the local wildlife began to take notice. From the shadows, the glowing red eyes of bears and monsters glared at the intruders. Sensing killing intent from the woods, Li Tu and Li Ming sweated nervously, fearing a beast might suddenly attack their vehicle. However, Su Hong felt excited. He realized the camp competition would be as cruel as the beast's slaughter, and he actually liked that intense feeling. Eventually, they arrived at the campsite and joined the gathering crowd. Standing there, one student wondered aloud how strong the other participants would be. They saw a group of intimidating young martial artists with serious expressions, all radiating power. Facing the pressure from these rivals, Li Tu and Li Ming stood in awkward silence. Su Hong rallied his companions, flashing a confident smile to signal it was time to move. With his weapon over his shoulder, he marched forward with Li Tu and Li Ming. However, a hand abruptly blocked their path. An official in a suit said they had to wait for everyone before the camp entrance assessment began, surprising the students who didn't expect a test so soon. Su Hong noticed the remaining participants arriving. He watched with annoyance as luxury cars drove through mud, thinking how wealthy families made everyone wait. Bodyguards opened the doors of the expensive vehicles, and the atmosphere shifted immediately. 3 prominent figures stepped out, drawing admiration. Students whispered about Xiao Nan, an orange-haired woman, Lin Xingge in white clothes, and Wang Tiantuo, the city lord's muscular son, known as the barbarian god. The elites walked with superiority, while ordinary students parted ways to let them pass. As they took their places, the tension in the air increased. Su Hong recognized them as the geniuses the president mentioned, but instead of fear, he was eager to see their skills. The assessment began with the official addressing the assembled students. He announced that the true training camp was 30 kilometers deep within the Tianlin Mountains. To enter, each student needed a special token. These tokens were surgically placed inside local beasts, meaning they had to hunt to earn their place. This caused anxiety. Li Ming and Li Tu whispered nervously, realizing a 30-kilometer journey was dangerous. Deep in the mountains, a single mistake with high-level beasts could be fatal. Su Hong remained unfazed. He saw the 8-hour limit as a chance to kill extra beasts and earn more martial value. One student asked what if they met a beast beyond their level. The official coldly replied they would be eliminated, though a rescue team would save them from death. The crowd protested that the rules were unfair and relied on luck, risking the strong being eliminated by a chance encounter. The official snapped. He said the world isn't fair, comparing their complaints to protesting on the real all-heavens battlefield. He shouted that battlefield rules were simple: avoid risks, bully the weak, and use numbers. If they feared strong beasts, they needed more caution. A young man in a suit agreed with the official. He sneered at the complainers, calling them trash and telling them to quit if they were afraid. This provoked a rugged student who challenged him. The man in the suit called him a coward and threatened to cripple him. The official interrupted, stating violence was banned at base camp but allowed in the mountains. Snatching tokens or attacking others was acceptable. The 2 students glared at each other, marking one another as future targets. Su Hong realized the camp encouraged fighting. He guessed half the people would be eliminated early. A new opportunity crossed his mind. If fighting was encouraged, this assessment was a gold mine. Fighting these geniuses could be a great way to obtain martial value. The official cut discussion short and pressed a button to start the test. Instantly, the students erupted into a frenzy, charging into the forest, determined to pass. In the woods, the man in the suit pursued the rugged student, taunting him and promising to send him home. They squared off, channeling energy into their fists for a decisive blow. Their attacks clashed, sending a shockwave through the trees. A furious exchange followed, with energy beams lighting up the forest as they fought. From a high branch, Su Hong observed the battle critically. He wanted to gauge the geniuses, but was unimpressed. Their power was weak, so defeating them wouldn't yield much martial value. Deciding to leave, he turned to hunt high-level beasts instead. Below, the fighters were in a stalemate. The suit man sneered that a pauper couldn't compare to his family resources. The rugged student shouted back angrily. Hearing the word pauper echo, Su Hong froze in his tracks. It struck a nerve. Su Hong turned back with a dangerous glint, thinking he couldn't let this delivered martial value slip away. He walked toward the fighters and told them to stop. Carrying a wooden club, he casually suggested they should play with him instead. Infuriated, the suit man called Su Hong a pauper and threatened him, while the other student asked why he interfered. Su Hong smirked, explaining he didn't want them to stop fighting completely. He proposed they join forces against him. Insulted, the rugged student abandoned his opponent and rushed at Su Hong. Su Hong countered with a brutal knee strike to the stomach, sending the student flying. The student gasped in pain, landing in a heap. The suit man stared in disbelief. He couldn't comprehend how a student of similar strength was defeated so easily. Before he could process it, Su Hong appeared in front of him with blinding speed and said, "Your turn." Paralyzed with fear, the man watched Su Hong swing the club. The strike connected, sending the man to the ground and ending the fight. The man in the suit flew through the air and crashed hard into a tree. He screamed as his eyes rolled back, completely overwhelmed by the force. On the ground, Su Hong stood calmly with the wooden stick on his shoulder. Looking at the 2 defeated men, he said, "This is what they get for underestimating ordinary cultivators." In the monitoring room, instructors watched the fight on a large screen. One wondered where the newcomer came from, complaining that he just walked in and one-shotted both men during their duel. Another asked if the 2 were now eliminated. The supervisor shook his head, explaining that since they hadn't called for rescue, the assessment would continue. A staff member bowed and acknowledged the order. Back in the forest, the man in the suit groaned as he opened his eyes. Holding his aching face, he muttered about how much it hurt. As he got up, he panicked upon seeing the wooden stick nearby and scrambled back, yelling for Su Hong to stay away. The defeated man screamed in rage, shouting that he'd never been so humiliated in his life and swore Su-hong had better not let him find him again. The other man also woke up against a tree, clutching his chest. He muttered in frustration, blaming himself for underestimating Su-hong and insisting he wouldn't have lost if he'd been serious. The two men sat in awkward silence for a moment, sharing the same bruised pride. Then, one of them apologized, admitting the other was truly strong. The man in the suit agreed and apologized for mocking him. They shook hands as their hostility faded. Soon they walked through the forest side by side like brothers. They agreed to find Su-hong and get revenge, with the man in the suit determined to hit him with the stick to vent his frustration. Meanwhile, Su-hong sprinted through the forest with a spear in hand, leaving trails of blue energy behind him as he ran. Su-hong's eyes narrowed as he sensed movement ahead. Though his expression was calm, he knew trouble was coming. Moments later, a herd of giant tusk boars burst from the trees, their red eyes glowing as they charged. Su-hong complained that it was another group of low-tier boars, wondering how many he had already encountered in the beast-filled mountain range. The boars snorted and kicked up dust as they approached, their massive tusks cutting through the air. The herd roared in unison and rushed straight at him, their steps thundering across the ground. As they approached, Su-hong's eyes sharpened with a golden flash, his focus intensifying. Instantly, golden lightning erupted around him. He swung his spear in a wide arc, and glowing lines of lightning cut through the charging boars, lighting up the area. With golden light wrapping his arm, Su-hong's spear slammed into the boars, sending them crashing to the ground amidst dust and shockwaves. After the fight, Su-hong stood among the fallen beasts as system screens displayed his martial Dao points. He noted that since he became stronger, the points he earned from weaker beasts had greatly decreased. Sighing, he said he needed to hurry and find a token, then began cutting open a boar's stomach with his spear. Searching the bodies, he muttered that the previous dozen low-tier beasts he killed had no tokens. Hoping this batch was different, he searched each boar one by one. Every corpse was empty. As he expected, there were no tokens. He concluded that only higher-level beasts must carry them. Half an hour later, he was dashing swiftly through the forest again, his spear cutting through the wind. As he ran deeper, he recalled how he used to find over 10 low-level beasts per hour in this area. Now he couldn't find a single one. Suddenly, a roar shattered the silence. A massive black tiger with glowing red eyes leaped from the trees, pouncing at him with incredible speed. Su-hong's eyes glowed blue, and he smiled, recognizing the creature. He had finally found a Tier 1, upper stage Dark Knight black tiger. Blue energy gathered at his fingertips, swirling and brightening before it burst outward. He thrust his glowing finger down, and a piercing blue beam shot into the tiger, splitting the ground beneath it. The Dark Knight black tiger roared in pain, spraying blood from its wide-open jaws. The tiger crashed to the ground, cracking the earth. It twitched and struggled as dust scattered around it. Without slowing, Su-hong gripped his spear and lunged forward at an incredible speed. Spinning through the air, his glowing spear struck the tiger's head. Blue energy exploded outward, and the beast roared one last time before dying. A screen showed he had earned 35 martial Dao points. He commented that with his current strength, killing a high-tier beast like this was as easy as breathing. He crouched beside the corpse and began searching, hoping the high-tier tiger had a token inside. After cutting it open, he paused, then pulled out a blood-covered token. He laughed softly, confirming it was inside the high-tier beast. It had taken him nearly 3 hours to find just one token. Holding the token, Su-hong considered his encounters. Low-tier boars were everywhere, but high-tier tigers only appeared every half hour. He realized the deeper he went, the stronger but rarer the beasts became. He glanced at the tiger's corpse. High-tier beasts gave more points, but finding only one every 30 minutes was inefficient. Hunting the more numerous low-level beasts would earn him points faster. Gripping the token, he smiled. He decided to focus on quantity over quality for earning points. He continued on, determined to use the remaining 5 hours to gather enough points to max out his mortal body progress. As he walked on, he came across a blood-soaked clearing filled with the torn-apart corpses of deer. The ground was also littered with the corpses of boars he had killed. As Su-hong killed another boar with his bare hands, a massive bear with glowing red eyes lunged at him, swinging its claws down. He dodged the sudden attack with incredible speed, spinning to the side. Flames wrapped around his fist as he charged, noting that after killing dozens of low-tier beasts, he had finally found a mid-tier one. His fiery punch shot forward like a cannon, blasting the bear into the air and through the forest. The bear slammed into a rock wall, roaring in pain and coughing up blood as it struggled to get up. Reflected in the bear's trembling eye, Su-hong was already leaping in for another strike. He slammed his fist down, driving a beam of fiery energy into the bear's head as the impact sent shockwaves through the ground. The force dragged the bear across the ground until it crashed into a large tree, snapping the trunk. As the dust settled, Su-hong stood covered in blood and dirt. He calmly noted that with his mortal body over 60%, he could kill mid-tier beasts with physical strength alone. A system panel appeared, showing his stats and 254 martial Dao points. He needed just over 100 more to max out his mortal body progress, which was currently at 64.6%. The panel also displayed his level 3 guiding arts and his martial skills, all in a perfect state. Tightening his grip on his weapon, Su-hong knew he had to use the remaining 3 hours to gather the rest of the points he needed. Before he could move, a deafening roar echoed through the trees. Su-hong froze, sweat on his face as the noise echoed. What was that sound? He wondered. Suddenly, a massive shadow fell over him. A gigantic golden bird with glowing wings descended, swirling leaves and wind. As its golden feathers shined like fire, he realized it might be the legendary Golden Rock Beast King. The beast screeched and dived, its body wrapped in blazing energy. The force of its descent tore through the forest, sending out violent shockwaves. Su-hong braced himself, gripping his spear as the wind roared around him. The Beast King's power was terrifying. A single flap of its wings had created this devastating shockwave. A violent crash echoed as a massive tree split apart, its trunk snapping under immense force. Su-hong leaped onto a broken stone as a shockwave rushed past. Wind roared around him while he steadied himself, looking to the sky and wondering what beast could cause this. Pressed against a cliff, sweat on his face, he admitted he'd grown complacent. Faced with such overwhelming power, he realized he was just an ant to top-tier experts. Then his eyes widened. He saw something else approaching high in the air. The Golden Rock Beast King hovered on spread wings. A second figure approached, also shining with golden light. It was Rank 7 Grandmaster Qin Tianli, wrapped in a fierce, flaming aura. He announced himself as Qin Tianli, saying he was borrowing the territory and asked why the Beast King returned. The Golden Rock Beast King swooped down, claws extended. It shouted it never agreed to lend its territory. Qin Tianli shot forward like a golden firestorm. He yelled he would beat the Beast King until it agreed, and the two forces collided in midair. The rock's wings flashed gold as it twisted. Qin Tianli's punch exploded against its feathers, and the beast beat its wings again with a sharp cry. Light spiraled around it, forcing Qin Tianli back with a shockwave. He steadied himself, irritated by the noise. Yelling the rock was too noisy, he rushed in again. A rapid series of impacts followed. Explosions of golden force repeatedly struck the beast, lighting up the sky as they clashed violently in mid-air. Qin Tianli's punch smashed into the Beast King's head, sending feathers and blood scattering. The impact forced the massive beast backward. Floating calmly in his golden aura, Qin Tianli spoke with an icy voice. He declared he was borrowing this land and ordered the beast to leave, warning it not to make him repeat himself. The beast screeched angrily as it flew away, yelling for Qin Tianli to wait. Qin Tianli waved dismissively, telling it to get lost. As the beast disappeared, Qin Tianli took a slow breath, golden light swirling around him. His voice echoed across the area. He announced he was Rank 7 Grandmaster Qin Tianli and told the trainees not to panic as the assessment would continue. Far below, Su-hong looked up in shock, watching golden rings of power spread through the sky. He wondered if this was the true strength of a Rank 7 martial artist, clenching his jaw. With determination in his eyes, he vowed that he would reach that realm one day. High above, Qin Tianli descended toward the base. Below, the crater-like area was filled with buildings for the assessment. Hovering above the officials, Qin Tianli complained the beast should have just agreed. He only wanted to borrow the territory for a trial, but it forced him to fight. The staff stood at attention. Among them, Rank 5 martial artists Linzi and Bai Mu spoke in admiration. They noted Grandmaster Qin was more fearsome than rumored, having beaten the famously tough Golden Rock Beast King. Qin Tianli brushed off the praise and ordered them to the monitoring room. He wanted to see which trainees withstood the Golden Rock's pressure earlier, and the staff followed. Inside the surveillance room, the monitors showed trainees collapse from the shockwave. Linzi explained that most were unable to move under the Golden Rock's aura. Qin Tianli stared in surprise. On one screen, a trainee knelt beside dead black tigers, remaining calm under the beast's pressure. "Who is that boy?" Qin Tianli asked. Bai Mu checked the documents. Wang Tiantuo, a Tier 1 high tier with Blood Chai 340 and 95% fire affinity. He has the barbarian god physique and is the Star City Castellan's son. Qin Tianli raised an eyebrow, noting the Castellan treated having children like lottery tickets and had finally produced a good one after 100 tries. Another trainee appeared, using incredible speed to escape the pressure zone. "Impressive movement skills," Qin Tianli commented. Bai Mu identified him as Lin Xing He, a Tier 1 high tier from the Lin family with Blood Qi 325 and 96% wind affinity. The footage showed a girl using a glowing barrier to shield herself. Qin Tianli noted she was a spiritual telekinetic, skillfully using her power to resist the pressure. Bai Mu identified her as Xiao Yan, a Tier 1 mid-stage telekinetic from the Xiao family with blood Qi 290 and 95% wood affinity. Qin Tianli nodded, noting these three easily handled the pressure and outmatched their peers. He asked for other talents. Bai Mu listed more names from the Lin and Wang families, hesitating as she realized all the top performers were from Star City's famous families. Qin Tianli frowned. Bai Mu explained the dozen on the list all had Tier 2 combat power and withstood the aura. He questioned why every standout was from a major family, asking about the students from the schools, especially number 1 high. Bai Mu explained the school students were only Tier 1 early stage, with the 3 from number 1 high having just broken through. Qin Tianli waved his hand dismissively, saying he wouldn't bother looking and that number 1 high was unworthy of its reputation. Then Lindsay shouted in shock, pointing at one person on the screen. All three looked up. The screen showed Su Hong cutting down a beast. They were shocked he still had the strength to hunt after experiencing the Golden Rock's pressure. Bai Mu trembled and stuttered. "That's Star City number 1 high's monster." Lindsay scolded her, telling her not to make a fuss in front of the Grandmaster. Qin Tianli was silent, but after Lindsay glanced at the report, he also began shaking and repeated with wide eyes, "Monster." Qin Tianli glanced at them, reminding the two rank 5s they should have seen plenty of geniuses. He asked why they were making such a fuss, awkwardly adding that their temperaments weren't steady yet. But when Qin Tianli read the report, his own eyes widened in shock. He screamed internally, wondering if the boy was even human. The report showed Su Hong's profile, 18, from number 1 high, Tier 1 early stage, blood Chai 123. He had perfected a C-rank art, and his physical strike produced 3004 combat power, rivaling a Tier 1 high level. He also likely had a special physique, a 100% affinity for all 7 elements, and was cultivating all 7 simultaneously. Qin Tianli trembled, muttering in disbelief that such a freak came from a place like Star City. He wasn't a once-in-a-century talent, he realized, but a once-in-a-millennium rarity. His shock turned to joy. Clenching the paper, his eyes glowing red with excitement, he shouted, "I've struck gold!" Then he paused, confused. He demanded to know why someone so talented was only Tier 1 early stage with blood Qi 123. Bai Mu quickly explained that Su Hong was cultivating all 7 guiding techniques at once. Grandmaster Qin erupted in frustration. "No wonder he's so low," he said. Cultivating 7 techniques at once was a doomed path, even for an immortal. He questioned how Su Hong could advance at all, growling that the local martial arts association president should have stopped him. Just then, a staff member reported that trainees were arriving at the camp. Qin nodded and said they would go take a look. Outside, the first 3 trainees greeted him. Wang Tiantuo saluted, addressing himself as a junior. Qin praised the 3 of them as very good. 6 hours into the assessment, more students staggered toward the camp. Some complained they nearly died, but another reminded them they had faced the Golden Rock Beast King. After 7.5 hours, more trainees gathered. As Qin watched, some early arrivals said there was no one left and suggested ending the assessment. Another scoffed that anyone still out there must be weak. But Grandmaster Qin wondered where Su Hong was. He worried his newly discovered freak was lost, a hint of panic on his face at the thought his precious treasure might be eliminated. A few minutes later, Qin finally spotted a figure leaving the forest. He sighed in relief, thinking the brat had finally shown up. He stepped out of the woods, dragging his spear, his clothes covered in dirt and blood. He muttered that he'd made it in time, having been so focused on earning martial value he almost forgot the deadline. As he entered the camp, trainees stared in shock. One whispered Su Hong was ruthless, another noted he wasn't injured and wondered how many beasts he had killed to get so dirty. The 2 men Su Hong had embarrassed earlier glared at him. One shouted he'd been waiting for him, but the other stopped him. "Don't rush," he said. "We'll have plenty of chances inside the camp." Nearby, the 3 elite trainees watched Su Hong. One called him an expert for passing at the deadline, another found it interesting. Wang Tiantuo, eyes closed, simply nodded. As the sun set, Instructor Lin Zi stepped forward and announced the 8-hour limit was over. Anyone not present was eliminated. He then began to introduce the camp's facilities and rules. Instructor Lin introduced the major facilities, which included a gravity room, a movement skill training room, and a ferocious beast combat room. He pointed to a large building, the Martial Arts Pavilion. There, trainees could use contribution points to buy martial arts, pills, and weapons, some as high as a rank. Hearing this, a blood-covered but calm Su Hong sat among the trainees. He thought that coming here was the right decision. But Instructor Lin then explained the rules. All facilities required contribution points to use. The only way to earn points was by passing training subjects. Outstanding performance would earn extra rewards. As the sun set, he dismissed them. He told those with energy to start training, and the injured to follow him to the dorms to rest, vowing no one would die under his supervision. Su Hong entered his dorm and was surprised to find it was a single room. He realized he could now cultivate and level up without being seen. Later, he sat cross-legged on his bed and opened his status screen. It showed his stats. Blood Chai 126, Spirit 26.5, and Mortal Body 64.6%. His Thunder and Heavenly Flame guiding techniques were level 3, and his 3 martial arts were at perfection. He had 354 martial value. Taking a calm breath, he decided to use all of it to upgrade his mortal body. A surge of power erupted around him in red flames. Countless glowing notifications appeared, each showing his mortal body increasing by 1 as the red energy strengthened him. Finally, a message appeared. His mortal body reached 100% and was now evolving. His eyes snapped open, glowing with crimson light as his breath surged like a storm. Su Hong's physical evolution began, causing intense red energy and glowing nodes to map across his newly strengthened body. He meditated on the floor of his dorm room while a fierce vortex of spiritual energy swirled around him. As the process finished, he let out a sigh, with steam radiating off his refined form. Inspecting his physique, he was amazed by the sheer, overwhelming power his physical body now possessed. His system interface appeared, revealing that he had unlocked the Overlord body, which the system described as the existence with the strongest physical strength in the world. He noticed that the physique was currently at spirit rank 0%, meaning it could still be upgraded. This left him wondering what kind of heaven-defying form it might evolve into next. Eager to test the limits of his extraordinary new body, he grabbed his jacket and his black spear. However, the moment he gripped the spear's shaft, the metal crunched and cracked under his hand. He stared at the weapon in shock, realizing that his casual grip was now strong enough to snap a highly durable C-rank alloy. He briefly panicked, lamenting that C-rank spears were incredibly expensive and that he had just ruined a fortune. Fortunately, he quickly remembered that he had actually looted this spear for free during his time in the wilderness. Knowing his old equipment could no longer handle his strength, he decided he must gather camp contribution points as soon as possible to exchange for an A-rank alloy spear. Striding confidently out of his room into the hallway, he planned his next move, contemplating if he could easily earn those points by training with a weight vest of a few hundred kilograms. Inside the camp warehouse, a crowd of trainees gathered in awe around Wang Tiantuo. Despite carrying a massive 3,000-kilogram weight, Wang Tiantuo effortlessly leaped into the air. Watching from the sidelines, Lin Xinghe and Xiaonan were amazed by his monster-like strength, noting that an ordinary Tier 1 martial artist could only handle a fraction of that load. Observing the warehouse feed from the monitoring room, Grandmaster Qin Tianli praised Wang Tiantuo's barbarian god body. The conversation then shifted to Su Hong. Bai Mu asked how they should address Su Hong's flawed path of cultivating 7 guidance techniques simultaneously. Knowing that directly confronting a proud genius would likely backfire, Qin Tianli decided to make Su Hong realize his mistake the hard way. Qin Tianli asked instructor Linze about the progress of a secretly planned night raid meant to ambush the trainees. Linze smiled wickedly, anticipating the despair of the students who mistakenly believed they could finally relax after the entrance exam. To execute his lesson, Qin Tianli specifically ordered Linze to send a powerful Tier 1 high-stage martial artist to overwhelmingly defeat Su Hong. Once Su Hong was utterly crushed, Qin Tianli planned to step in, explain the impossibility of his cultivation method, and force him to give it up. The staff worried that pitting Su Hong against an opponent with over 400 vitality and 5,000 combat power might permanently break his spirit, given his much lower vitality stats. However, Qin Tianli coldly dismissed their concerns, stating that if Su Hong's resolve collapsed that easily, he was nothing but trash. Meanwhile, outside in the camp, Su Hong overheard other trainees rushing to the gravity room to watch Wang Tiantuo train. Preferring to avoid the crowd, Su Hong headed into the now-empty equipment warehouse, planning to check out the commotion later. Inside the equipment warehouse, Su Hong picked up his smart scoring bracelet, confirming it was the device used to calculate his contribution points. As he explored the room, he walked past the lighter equipment racks and stopped in amazement at a rack holding 10-ton weight vests forged from super heavy alloy, wondering who could possibly wear something so heavy. Curious about his own limits, he tried on a 10-ton vest, but quickly realized the immense weight severely hindered his speed and stamina, making it impractical for long-term training. He decided to swap it for a 5-ton vest instead. After rapidly leaping around the warehouse to test his mobility, he concluded that the 5-ton load was perfectly suited for his current physical state. Thinking about his competition, Su Hong wondered how much weight Wang Tiantuo and the other top-tier geniuses chose to wear, assuming that since they were at the Tier 1 high stage, they must be at least as strong as him, if not stronger. Hoping to learn from their cultivation methods, he left the warehouse to go observe them. Outside, a large crowd was gathered in front of a pyramid-shaped gravity room. The trainees were astounded that Wang Tiantuo had entered the facility without taking off his 3-ton weight vest. A monitor displayed Wang Tiantuo straining inside the room under 2 times normal gravity, which the crowd noted effectively turned his 3-ton vest into a grueling 6-ton load. Standing at the back of the crowd with his arms crossed, Su-hong was genuinely surprised to hear that Wang Tiantuo's base vest was only 3 tons. Considering that weight to be incredibly light compared to his own comfortable 5 tons, Su-hong realized he had completely underestimated the sheer toughness and superiority of his newly evolved overlord body. Su-hong approached his former schoolmates Chen Shan and Li Tu and asked why they weren't going into the gravity room to cultivate. Looking defeated, the two explained that the massive gap in strength between them and the top-tier geniuses made them feel completely inadequate, and they feared the embarrassment of being compared to them if they trained right then. Su-hong sighed and patted one of them on the shoulder, disappointed that they would let their pride and fear of comparison stop them from improving. Ignoring their warnings to wait until the crowd left, Su-hong confidently walked toward the brightly lit, pyramid-shaped gravity room. The gathered onlookers immediately began to mock him. Assuming he was trying to arrogantly surpass Wang Tiantuo's record, they called him brainless and shameless, especially since he didn't appear to be wearing a weight suit. Unbothered by their taunts, Su-hong stepped through the entrance, reflecting that such expensive, heavily funded facilities were usually restricted to elite aristocratic families, making this a rare opportunity he refused to let slip by. Inside the high-tech room, Su-hong evaluated his limits. He calculated that because he was secretly wearing the 5-ton weight vest under his tracksuit, setting the room to double gravity would subject his body to 10 tons of force, a crushing load he could only endure for about 10 minutes. Deciding to pace himself so he could train for a longer period, he adjusted the control dial to 1.5 times normal gravity instead. Instantly, the increased pressure hit him and he grunted as his body strained to brace against the heavy, invisible force. Completely unaware of his hidden 5-ton vest, the crowd outside watched his struggles on the monitor and laughed. They mocked him for barely being able to handle a mere 1.5x gravity without any extra weights, cementing their belief that he was just weak, since he had been the last to finish the entrance assessment. Meanwhile, completely focused on his training, Su-hong sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by a fiery red aura. He realized that while the intense pressure made cultivating his guidance technique significantly more difficult, the high-end facility was doing its job perfectly, as his cultivation speed had drastically accelerated. After enduring the intense pressure for 2 hours, Su-hong remained seated on the floor of the gravity room, cultivating while enveloped in a fierce red aura. Sweating heavily and pushing his limits, he focused on his training while his eyes glowed with a sharp blue light. His strenuous effort yielded significant results when he checked his system panel. He noted with satisfaction that his water, earth, and wind guidance techniques had all leveled up by 1, and his vitality had jumped from 126 to 130 points. Struggling to his feet, he finally turned off the gravity machine. Impressed by the room's effectiveness, he eagerly considered how beneficial the camp's movement technique and ferocious beast rooms would be. Utterly exhausted, he stumbled out of the facility, wiping the thick sweat from his face. Waiting outside, 2 other trainees immediately began to mock him. Still under the false impression that he had been training without weights at a mere 1.5x gravity, they laughed at his worn-out state, with one arrogantly boasting that he could easily sleep overnight in those conditions. Ignoring their baseless taunts, Su-hong simply complained about the boiling heat and terrible breathability of his gear before unzipping his tracksuit, casually revealing the massive 5-ton weight vest he had been wearing the entire time. Seeing the heavy equipment hidden underneath his clothes, the 2 mocking trainees were left completely paralyzed in shock. The 2 trainees were surprised when Su-hong removed his weight vest, assuming it only weighed around 500 kilograms. Despite acknowledging that his strength was passable for lasting 2 hours, they still looked down on him as he dropped the vest to the ground, insisting that he was nothing compared to the camp's top genius, Wang Tiantuo. Suddenly, a commotion broke out as the crowd noticed Wang Tiantuo finally exiting the gravity room. The trainees marveled that he had withstood 6 tons of heavy pressure for over 2 hours. Sweating profusely and panting, Wang Tiantuo stepped out while the crowd praised his physical strength as the absolute best in the training camp. He unfastened his heavy weight vest and carelessly tossed it to the floor. The massive impact shook the earth, terrifying the nearby trainees. Relieved to be free of the immense burden, Wang Tiantuo massaged his sore shoulder and admitted the weight was incredibly grueling. Lin Xingyi then approached Wang Tiantuo, casually fanning himself, and challenged him to a competition in the movement technique room. Wang Tiantuo immediately declined, acknowledging that Lin Xingyi cultivated an A-rank wind attribute movement technique and admitting he would be completely foolish to compete against him in agility. Overhearing their conversation, Su-hong was instantly intrigued by the mention of an A-rank movement technique. Realizing that despite the immense raw power of his newly evolved overlord body, he still lacked high-level agility skills, Su-hong smiled, seeing a perfect opportunity to upgrade his arsenal. Following the crowd, Su-hong arrived at the dome-shaped movement technique training room, eager to witness the A-rank flying swan startling cloud step for himself. Inside, the trainees watched the monitors in disbelief, noting that Lin Xinghe had confidently set the room's arrow-dodging simulation to its absolute maximum difficulty of level 10. On the screen, Lin Xinghe moved with blinding speed, effortlessly weaving through a dense, rapid-fire barrage of flying arrows. He moved with such grace that he even closed his eyes mid-air, dodging the projectiles while mysteriously conjuring falling pink petals, leaving the audience stunned by his effortless showboating. Watching the spectacular display, Su Hong calmly praised the technique. Almost instantly, his system interface appeared in front of him, revealing that merely by observing the skill in action, he had successfully copied the Flying Swan's startling cloud step and unlocked it at 1% proficiency. Su Hong carefully analyzed Lin Xinghe's graceful movements. He stepped forward to test the technique himself, drawing the attention of nearby bystanders. The crowd immediately began to laugh and mock him, finding it ridiculous that he believed he could master a complex A-rank movement technique simply by watching it once. Ignoring their taunts, Su Hong's consciousness entered his system's virtual training space, where he battled against a simulated clone of Lin Xinghe. Through intense practice and dodging rapid attacks, his proficiency in the skill skyrocketed, quickly climbing from 8% all the way to 93%. A system notification soon congratulated him on officially reaching the basic level of the technique, and Su Hong stood triumphantly, thrilled to have acquired his first A-rank movement skill. As the system prepared to send him back to reality, Su Hong reflected that having to use Lin Xinghe's incredibly showy movements as a learning template was somewhat embarrassing. Satisfied that he no longer needed the movement technique room, he decided his next destination would be the ferocious beast room, where he could hunt beasts to earn martial value and increase his vitality. However, his train of thought was interrupted when he noticed the entire crowd staring at him and taking pictures with their phones, praising his dramatically flashy posture. To his absolute mortification, Su Hong realized that while he was training in his mind, his physical body in the real world had been acting out all of the exaggerated, showy poses. Deeply embarrassed, he sprinted away from the area at top speed, ignoring the crowd's cheers asking him to perform again, and silently vowed to never use Lin Xinghe as a template again. As he dashed off, Su Hong's sharp senses picked up the feeling of being followed. Trailing a short distance behind him were the student in the suit, now armed with a wooden club, and the rugged student he had defeated during the entrance assessment. Having tracked Su Hong's path toward the ferocious beast room, the two vengeful trainees plotted to block the exit and ambush him the moment he came out. Arriving at the large facility known as the ferocious beast room, Su Hong noticed a large crowd gathered outside. Near the entrance doors, he overheard a tense exchange between Wang Tiantuo and Xiao Nan. Wang Tiantuo laughed, noting that Xiao Nan wanted to compete with him in hunting beasts to determine who was truly the #1 trainee in the camp. Wang Tiantuo arrogantly asked if she genuinely believed her spiritual telekinesis could defeat his barbarian god body, feeling underestimated. In response, Xiao Nan confidently retorted that he was the one underestimating the true power of a spirit master. Intrigued by the mention of a spirit master, a fighting style he had never seen before, Su Hong decided to delay earning his own martial value so he could observe her techniques first. Looking through the observation window into the simulated forest environment, Su Hong was completely shocked to see Xiaonan gracefully walking down from the sky toward a pack of black tigers. He marveled at this, knowing that walking on air was a miraculous feat typically restricted to high-level grandmasters, and realized this must be the unique power of a spirit master. With a simple, glowing motion of her outstretched hand, Xiaonan summoned her power. Instantly, several streaks of blinding golden light shot forward, simultaneously piercing the skulls of 3 Tier 1 high-stage black tigers. Su Hong watched in awe as the beasts were killed instantly, wondering what the mysterious flowing light was made of. Suddenly, a massive, terrifying bear-like beast enveloped in a red aura roared and attempted to ambush Xiaonan from behind. However, the beast was instantly stopped in its tracks, its eyes widening in shock. Xiaonan used her spiritual telekinesis to forcibly lift and paralyze the giant creature in midair, leaving Su Hong amazed by her ability to effortlessly bind such a massive enemy. With a swift wave of her arm, Xiaonan directed the golden light to cleanly pierce straight through the suspended beast's head, executing it on the spot. Observing the battle closely, Su Hong finally realized that the deadly streaks of light were actually daggers being manipulated remotely by her mind. Trembling with a mix of excitement and realization, Su Hong concluded that a spirit master's ability to walk on air, bind enemies, and telekinetically control weapons from a distance made them ridiculously overpowered, allowing them to easily crush ordinary martial artists. The crowd of trainees, along with Su Hong, watched the observation monitor in disbelief as someone questioned the sudden appearance of a colossal weapon on the screen. The feed showed Xiaonan standing before a massive snake beast, effortlessly summoning a giant, glowing golden sword out of thin air. With a swift, commanding downward swing of her arm, the enormous golden blade dropped, slicing the giant snake cleanly in half. Observing this impossible feat, Su-hong was completely bewildered. He noted that she wasn't carrying any weapon earlier and reasoned that a physical sword of that magnitude would weigh several tons, making it far too heavy to wield so easily. Stepping into the conversation, Lin Xingyi casually approached the group while fanning himself. He calmly clarified that the giant sword wasn't a physical weapon at all, but rather a highly advanced A-rank martial skill exclusive to spirit masters. Hearing this, the crowd was astounded that yet another A-rank skill had been revealed. Someone turned to Lin Xinghe asking how all the top geniuses seemed to possess such rare techniques, and wondered if Wang Tiantuo had one as well. Lin Xingyi confidently confirmed that Wang Tiantuo did indeed possess a devastatingly powerful A-rank offensive martial skill, causing the surrounding trainees to despairingly call the elites heaven-defying monsters. However, rather than feeling intimidated by the massive gap in resources, Su-hong broke into an eager smile, realizing that the training camp was overflowing with elite A-rank martial skills just waiting to be copied by his system. He happily concluded that coming to the camp was the best decision he could have made. The trainees watched the monitor as Wang Tiantuo obliterated a Tier 1 high-level ferocious beast with a single punch. They quickly realized that the elite trainee was relying purely on his immense physical strength rather than using any actual martial skills. Since there was nothing to copy from Wang Tiantuo at the moment, Su-hong turned away, deciding to find another opportunity to learn from him later. Inspired by Xiaonan's display of power, Su-hong opened his system panel to check his own attributes. He noted that his spirit stat was only at 26.5. To become a spirit master, he needed his spirit stat to exceed 100, leaving him 73.5 points short. Calculating that he needed exactly 735 martial value points to bridge this gap, he gathered blue energy in his hand and eagerly resolved to go on a massive monster-killing spree to farm the necessary points. Meanwhile, the student in the suit and the rugged student were still secretly tailing him. They watched as Su-hong entered one of the testing arenas inside the ferocious beast room. Noticing that the rest of the camp was completely distracted by Wang Tiantuo and Xiaonan's training, the two vengeful trainees concluded that no one would interfere. They decided this was the perfect opportunity to corner Su-hong inside and ruthlessly beat him up. As they prepared to ambush him, the rugged student suddenly cried out in alarm, prompting the suited student to nervously shush him so they weren't discovered. The rugged student pointed up at the large observation monitor mounted above the facility's entrance. The two stalkers were absolutely horrified by what they saw on the screen. Su-hong was casually standing in the arena, surrounded by a towering red-eyed bear monster, giant armored scorpions, and massive stone-skinned beasts. They realized in utter disbelief that Su-hong had simultaneously challenged more than 10 Tier 1 high-stage ferocious beasts at once, leaving them wondering if he had completely lost his mind. Watching the spectacle, the rugged student urged finding an instructor to save Su-hong. The suited student replied it was too late, saying he would be torn to shreds in seconds. Seeing the odds, they realized their chance for revenge was gone. Inside the arena, Su-hong was unfazed and took a confident fighting stance. With a calm smirk, he taunted the surrounding horde of beasts to attack. Provoked, the massive snake and giant armored scorpion lunged at him with deafening roars. Su-hong effortlessly dodged the scorpion's powerful, sweeping strike with blinding speed. He conjured a swirling sphere of intense blue energy in his hand. He unleashed a burst of energy beams, blasting the surrounding beasts and sending them flying. Without pausing, his hand glowed brighter as he readied his next move. Darting through the air, he delivered rapid, glowing blue slashes that tore through the monster pack, cutting down tigers and scorpions. Outside, the two stalkers watched the massacre in shock. The suited student wondered if he was dreaming, noting a mid-stage artist would die against so many high-stage beasts, while the rugged student noticed Su-hong's movements looked familiar. In disbelief, the suited student realized Su-hong was perfectly using Lin Xingqi's signature technique, the flying swan startling cloud step. The rugged student asked if Su-hong learned the skill just by watching Lin Xinghe. The suited student dismissed this, saying a regular student couldn't access a high-grade technique, and wondered if Su-hong was from a powerful family. The suited student stressed mastering an A-rank technique by watching was nearly impossible, marveling at his talent. Intimidated, the rugged student suggested they abandon their revenge, admitting they wouldn't stand a chance together. Though trembling as he gripped his club, the suited student refused to back down. He declared that whether Su-hong was a genius or from a great family, he could not let the grudge go. The rugged student nervously pointed to the monitor, urging his companion to look again before deciding to fight Su-hong. The suited student stared at the display, his expression shifting to horror as a cold sweat broke out on his face. Speechless at the massacre on screen, the suited student dropped his wooden club to the floor. Inside, Su-hong rested on a slain monster's corpse. The two stalkers were astounded, realizing he slaughtered all 11 high-stage beasts in just a few minutes. Sweating slightly, Su-hong checked his interface. He was disappointed that killing the high-stage beasts only yielded 81 martial value points. He realized farming points was getting harder as his power grew. Suddenly, Su-hong caught movement in the shadows. Several more red-eyed beasts emerged from the dark enclosures, glaring at him. Standing on his fresh kill as new monsters roared, Su-hong stretched and decided not to rest, eager to continue farming. A massive, saber-tooth-like beast leapt from above, aiming its sharp claws at his head. Su-hong spun around, his fist glowing with intense golden energy as he prepared a counter. He intercepted the beast with a Vajra fist, smashing its face with an explosive burst of golden light. His heavy landing sent a powerful shockwave outward, blowing back the surrounding beasts. Intimidated by his display of strength, the remaining monsters flinched and cautiously backed away. Unwilling to let points escape, Su-hong's eyes flared blue as he charged the retreating monsters for their martial value. He leapt into the air and grabbed the armored tail of a giant scorpion. With monstrous strength, Su-hong swung the giant scorpion like a club, smashing it into the other fleeing beasts. Outside, the two stalkers stood in terrified silence, watching the one-sided beatdown unfold. His desire for revenge broken, the suited student sweated and decided to forgive Su-hong. The rugged student agreed, suggesting they leave before the monster inside finished training. Leaving the arena, the two overheard trainees gossiping about elite students. The crowd marveled that Wang Tiantuo killed 9 high-stage beasts in under 10 minutes, while Xiaonan killed 8 without moving. Another trainee asked the two stalkers if they got revenge on Su-hong. Sweating and forcing a smile, they awkwardly nodded and laughed it off. Internally, the two trembled, realizing if they hadn't backed down, they would be lying on the floor. They concluded the training camp was filled with monsters. At the ferocious beast room's entrance, the automated doors opened. Wang Tiantuo and Xiaonan emerged, looking exhausted. The crowd praised them, asking how many contribution points they earned. Checking his smart bracelet, a panting Wang Tiantuo revealed he earned 280 points, while Xiaonan announced 270. The trainees were shocked by the high numbers. One calculated they must have slaughtered 50 to 60 beasts each. Wang Tiantuo added that his weight vest gave him an extra 100 points. Xiaonan sighed, noting she only got 50 points from her weight training. Hearing this, the crowd checked their devices in despair. Some complained about getting only 20 or 30 points, while another cried over earning just 10. Lin Xinghe asked the pair who won their competition. Xiaonan begrudgingly pointed at Wang Tiantuo. Watching the elite trio, other trainees sweated nervously, concluding they could only hope to compete for 4th place. Overhearing the crowd, the two stalkers smirked. They mocked the crowd's ignorance, knowing a more terrifying monster who surpassed the top 3 was still inside. An hour later, inside the testing arena, the walls were heavily cracked and covered with fresh blood. The floor was a slaughterhouse, piled high with the mutilated corpses of countless beasts. In the center of the carnage sat a lone figure. Su-hong rested on a slain monster, panting and covered in sweat, dirt, and blood from the long battle. Even with his overlord body's stamina, fighting for over an hour had left him exhausted. Checking his interface, he was frustrated to still be short of the 735 martial value points needed for his next upgrade. However, his smart bracelet showed his camp rewards. He earned 700 contribution points, 400 from hunting and 300 from his vest, and perked up, wondering what he could buy at the martial arts pavilion. Under the starlit sky, Su-hong arrived at the martial arts pavilion, a grand traditional building glowing with warm light. Inside, Su-hong stood at the counter, flipping through an inventory ledger. Across from him, a female receptionist in a pink suit sat with a bored expression. Scanning the catalog, Su-hong noted that basic Tier 1 pills cost between 10 and 50 points. However, A-rank techniques were incredibly expensive, costing 2,000 to 3,000 points. Realizing A-rank skills were out of his budget, Su-hong focused on medicinal items. The pill prices were more acceptable, and the catalog had spirit-gathering pills, which he needed for his spirit stat. The receptionist asked if he had decided what to exchange his points for. She secretly judged his Tier 1 cultivation level, assuming he was too poor to afford anything worthwhile. Ignoring her, Su-hong asked if the spirit-gathering pills permanently increased spiritual power. The receptionist confirmed this, explaining they only worked the first time and higher-grade pills gave better results. With this confirmation, Su-hong scanned the list. He found the highest quality option, a Tier 4 Spirit Gathering pill, cost 500 contribution points. Su-hong confidently asked for a Tier 4 Spirit Gathering pill, startling the receptionist. Still assuming he was a poor student, she reminded him the pill cost 500 points, not 50. Unbothered, Su-hong just confirmed his order and raised his wrist. He tapped his smart bracelet on the payment terminal. It flashed his 700-point balance, leaving the receptionist wide-eyed in shock. Her attitude shifted to enthusiasm. Blushing and smiling, she presented him with the pill in an ornate box. Su-hong thanked her and asked if they carried dual thunder and fire attribute alloy spears. The receptionist confirmed they did, adding it only cost 200 points. She flirtatiously thanked her handsome customer for his business. Later that night, the moon shone over the quiet camp dormitories. Inside his room, Su-hong's new weapon, a C-rank Thunderfire spear, leaned against the wall. On his bed, Su-hong reviewed his glowing interface. He saw his vitality and elemental techniques had leveled up, and he had 490 martial value points. He was satisfied, as his progress today exceeded a normal week's. Opening the box, he revealed the glowing spirit gathering pill. He calculated his stats, noting his base spiritual power was 26.5. Even converting all 490 martial value points, he'd still be 25.5 points short of the 100 needed to become a spirit master. Holding the pill to the light, he hoped the Tier 4 medicine would provide the remaining 25.5 spiritual power points he needed. With a determined smile and a fierce glint in his eyes, Su-hong swallowed the pill, resolved to become a spirit master. The glowing green, pearl-like medicine activated. Vibrant green energy flowed through Su-hong's body, lighting his energy pathways. He felt immediate comfort as the pill soothed his exhausted nerves. Sitting cross-legged on his bed, his mind cleared and his senses expanded to perceive his entire room. Su-hong opened his eyes, which glowed bright blue. He checked his system interface and saw the pill had raised his spirit stat by 24 points to 50.5. He calculated that his 490 martial value points and new spirit stat only brought him to 99.5%. He was 5 points short and regretted not killing one more beast. Accepting he had to wait until tomorrow, Su-hong lay down to rest. In the brightly lit camp warehouse, staff members assembled. Instructors in dark uniforms gathered to discuss the new trainees while reviewing their profiles. One man asked Bu Jingfeng why someone from the prestigious Martial Dao University had been summoned to serve new recruits with them. Bu Jingfeng scoffed, calling the recruits fake geniuses and claiming they weren't qualified to be his high school sparring partners. The bald instructor laughed and showed Wang Tiantuo's profile, which had a vitality of 340, a level Bu Jingfeng never had, surprising him. A gray-haired instructor showed Lin Xinghe's profile, noting his vitality exceeded 300, while a mustached instructor added that his student was a spirit master. Bu Jingfeng was confused by his target Su-hong's low stats. He questioned why he got a Tier 1 trainee with only 123 vitality, while others got strong ones. The other instructors were in disbelief, as Bu Jingfeng was their strongest. They wondered why he had been assigned a weak target and questioned if Grandmaster Qin Tianli had made a mistake. Grandmaster Qin Tianli entered with Lin Ze and Bai Mu, confirming he had made no mistake. Bu Jingfeng complained to the Grandmaster, feeling insulted. Qin Tianli clarified that Su-hong's combat power rivaled a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist. This stunned the instructors, who wondered what monster could have such power with only 123 vitality. Qin Tianli said some info was classified and Bu Jingfeng would understand after fighting. Reluctantly, Bu Jingfeng sighed that with his vitality near 500, it felt like bullying. Annoyed, Qin Tianli slapped Bu Jingfeng's head, telling him to stop talking and do the mission. He ordered him to go all out and beat Su-hong until he questioned his life. Rubbing his head, Bu Jingfeng asked if the Grandmaster had a grudge, warning he wouldn't be responsible if he accidentally crippled Su-hong. With a dark grin, Qin Tianli encouraged him to beat Su-hong ruthlessly, promising rewards even if he was crippled. Seeing this, Bu Jingfeng pitied Su-hong. Qin Tianli ordered the operation to begin, and the instructors dashed out to execute the ambush. Late at night, the scene was the quiet, snow-dusted exterior of the training camp. Chaos erupted in the dorms as masked instructors breached doors, launching a violent ambush on the trainees. Panicked shouts echoed from the dorms as trainees screamed in confusion, some begging for time to get dressed. Alerted by the commotion, Su-hong sat up, deducing the camp was under a sneak attack. He stared at his locked door as two massive slash marks tore through the wood from outside. The door shattered as Bu Jingfeng burst in, wielding a sword coated in purple energy with a confident smirk. Bu Jingfeng unleashed a cross-shaped strike that shattered the floor, but Su-hong reacted instantly, leaping backward to evade it. As debris flew, Su-hong recalled rumors of assassins and wondered if his attacker was from that hostile faction. Landing safely, Su-hong grabbed his new spear. He took a defensive stance in the ruined room, unable to gauge his masked assailant's strength. Bu Jingfeng leaped, bringing down a massive arc of purple energy. Confident, he mocked Su-hong, calling him an unlucky Tier 1 brat. Hearing him speak and sensing his aura, Su-hong realized the intruder was a human Tier 1 martial artist, not an alien assassin. A confident smile spread across Su-hong's face as he realized this was a stroke of luck. Su-hong calculated that defeating this opponent would give him the 5 martial value points he needed to become a spirit master. Mid-air, Bu Jingfeng's eyes widened in shock. He saw the trainee wasn't dodging, but stepping forward to meet his strike head-on. Their weapons collided in a blinding flash as Su-hong's spear clashed with Bu Jingfeng's purple energy blade. Straining, Bu Jingfeng sweated, admitting Qin was right about the boy's power rivaling a Tier 1 high-stage martial artist. As the clash continued, the instructor panicked. He realized Su-hong's physical strength was too massive for a normal Tier 1 martial artist. Unfazed, Su-hong enveloped his body in a red aura and pressed his spear forward, used to fighting Tier 1 high-stage enemies. With a battle cry, Su-hong unleashed his immense might. He swept his spear upward, shattering Bu Jingfeng's defense and sending the stunned instructor flying. Bu Jingfeng skidded backward, trembling as he struggled to hold his sword. Terrified, he wondered if the trainee was a monster. Regaining his footing, Bu Jingfeng channeled purple fire into his blade, declaring that fights weren't won by strength alone as he readied his elemental skills. Su Hong watched the glowing blade with interest, his first time seeing a fire attribute art. Golden lightning then crackled around his spear. The purple flames on Bu Jingfeng's sword intensified as he gathered power. Leaping high, Bu Jingfeng conjured a glowing purple cross around his blade. He taunted Su Hong, challenging him to withstand a B-rank martial art. With a shout, Bu Jingfeng brought his weapon down, unleashing the flame slash technique. Su Hong braced himself, channeling golden lightning through his spear. He realized the strike's might exceeded his own B-rank void-breaking finger technique. Instead of dodging, Su Hong thrust his spear up, using his lightning energy to block the purple energy blade. The clash of elemental energies caused a massive explosion, shattering the floor and sending concrete flying. As the dust settled, Su Hong landed lightly on his feet. The smoke cleared, revealing an unharmed Su Hong holding his spear, looking down at a stunned Bu Jingfeng in the ruined dorm. Sweating, Bu Jingfeng realized Su Hong had blocked a B-rank skill just with raw thunder energy, not a formal technique. Acknowledging his talent, he understood why Qin had ordered him to go all out. To save face, Bu Jingfeng noted Su Hong lacked thunder spear techniques, claiming that without them, he would be easily defeated. Unfazed, Su Hong smirked, lightning crackling on his spear, and admitted he lacked thunder techniques. However, Su Hong then summoned red flames that wrapped around his spearhead, merging perfectly with the golden electricity. Enveloped in a dual aura of fire and lightning, Su Hong stood confidently as Bu Jingfeng stammered in disbelief at the sight. Sweating and wide-eyed, the instructor stared in shock, terrified to see the trainee had perfectly executed an advanced attribute fusion. Su Hong faced Bu Jingfeng, his spear blazing with merged fire and lightning energy. Bu Jingfeng sweated in shock as he witnessed the dual attribute fusion, a feat he previously had thought was just a legend. Fire surged from Su Hong's eyes as he lunged at the instructor. Bu Jingfeng forcefully swung his weapon, unleashing a wave of purple energy. The purple blade clashed violently against Su Hong's lightning-infused spear. Su Hong overpowered the strike, thrusting his spear to unleash a massive eruption of combined elemental energy that completely engulfed his opponent. The sheer force of the attack shattered Bu Jingfeng's defense, causing him to cough up blood, astounded by the destructive power. The overwhelming blast violently launched Bu Jingfeng backward, sending him crashing through the building's exterior wall in a burst of debris. As the dust settled, Su Hong stood victorious and unharmed amidst the rubble. The system notified him he had earned 7 martial value points. Su Hong smiled as he realized he finally had enough points to become a spirit master. He reviewed his system interface, confirming his updated stats and new total of 497 martial value points. Outside in the courtyard, loud crashes and sounds of battle echoed from the dorm building. Grandmaster Qin Tianli and Bai Mu arrived, observing the commotion. Unaware of Su Hong's victory, Qin Tianli assumed enough time had passed for Bu Jingfeng to crush the young trainee. He confidently told Bai Mu he had prepared speeches to correct Su Hong's cultivation path and force him to abandon his flawed method of practicing multiple techniques. His lecture was cut short by a massive explosion as Bu Jingfeng was violently blasted through the upper wall of the dorm. He plummeted from the sky and slammed heavily into the ground at the feet of the Grandmaster and Bai Mu. Bu Jingfeng was completely unconscious, his eyes rolled back with blood dripping from his mouth. Bai Mu gasped in shock, recognizing the elite instructor. Beside her, Qin Tianli stared down at the body in stunned silence, his confidence entirely shattered. Trembling, Bai Mu pieced together the terrifying implication. If Bu Jingfeng was the one defeated, it meant the low-level Su Hong actually beat him. Before they could fully process this upset, 3 more massive blasts shattered the remaining upper windows of the dorm. 3 more figures were launched into the night sky, trailing distinct paths of elemental energy. The 3 figures plummeted downward, crashing violently into the courtyard right next to Bu Jingfeng. They were revealed to be the other 3 masked instructors sent to ambush the top trainees. All of them were battered and unconscious. Up in the ruined building, the top 3 elite trainees emerged victorious. Wang Tiantuo stood with his arms crossed. Xiaonan floated comfortably inside a telekinetic bubble, and Lin Xinghe sat on a ledge, fanning himself. Wang Tiantuo called down to Grandmaster Qin, suggesting he send stronger opponents next time because these instructors were too weak. However, Wang Tiantuo paused in confusion when he noticed 4 defeated instructors lying in the courtyard instead of the 3 they just fought. Xiaonan wondered aloud who could have possibly finished their fight faster than they did. Lin Xinghe, misreading the situation, casually assumed the 4th trainee was weak and was simply crushed instantly by their assigned instructor. Still sweating from the revelation, Bai Mu mentally corrected Lin Xinghe's arrogant assumption. Staring down at Bu Jingfeng's broken body, she knew he was actually the strongest of the 4 instructors sent out tonight. Grandmaster Qin Tianli stroked his beard, analyzing the situation. He acknowledged the swift victories of the top 3 trainees made sense given their high cultivation levels and unique talents. However, he was deeply perplexed that Su Hong, a mere early-stage Tier 1, had managed to defeat a near Tier 2 opponent even faster than the elite geniuses did. Frowning in intense thought, the Grandmaster wondered what secret had allowed Su Hong to achieve this, speculating whether the boy used an ultimate martial art or possessed a supreme physical constitution. Suddenly, Instructor Lindsay sprinted towards them in a panic, shouting that a major incident had occurred. Qin Tianli calmly closed his eyes and waved a hand dismissively. He casually assumed a trainee was accidentally killed in the ambush, stating that a few casualties were a normal part of harsh training. Sweating and frantic, Lindsay loudly corrected him, revealing the crisis wasn't a death, but rather that Su Hong had used an elemental attribute fusion technique during his fight with Bu Jingfeng. Qin Tianli casually nodded, noting a fused technique perfectly explained how the boy had won against a superior opponent. A split second later, the sheer impossibility of what he just heard fully registered, and the Grandmaster was shocked. Erupting in a blazing golden aura, Qin Tianli violently grabbed Lindsay by the shoulders, demanding he repeat himself and warning the instructor not to make up ridiculous lies about Su Hong achieving a dual attribute fusion. Lindsay nervously defended his claim, recalling seeing the monitor feed of Su Hong wielding a spear cloaked in both fire and lightning. He urged the Grandmaster to ask Bu Jingfeng if he still had doubts. Qin Tianli looked down at the defeated Bu Jingfeng, the reality of the thunder and fire fusion finally sinking in. Shaking Linzhou with wild enthusiasm, the Grandmaster noted that the only human genius in history to successfully research dual attribute fusion had taken over a decade to do so. Yet, according to Star City's records, Su Hong had been practicing his guiding techniques for less than a month. Overjoyed to the point of ecstatic laughter, Qin Tianli praised Su Hong as a heaven-sent prodigy and a true dragon among men. He completely ignored the exhausted Lin Ze, who slumped over and had to be awkwardly supported by Bai Mu. Holding up her reeling colleague, Bai Mu asked the Grandmaster if attribute fusion was truly powerful enough to let an early-stage Tier 1 defeat a near Tier 2 opponent. Regaining his dignity, Qin Tianli confirmed it, explaining that the historical pioneer of the technique could easily suppress Tier 2 enemies while still at Tier 1. Intrigued by the overwhelming power, Bai Mu questioned why such a formidable combat method wasn't widely promoted for cultivation, reasoning that despite the extreme difficulty, the potential rewards were worth the risk. Qin Tianli solemnly explained that many had tried attribute fusion in the past, but the process was incredibly difficult and carried a high risk of severely crippling the practitioner. He added that even if someone succeeded, they often remained permanently stuck at the Tier 1 cultivation level, making the immense effort and danger ultimately pointless. However, his demeanor shifted back to intense excitement as he clenched a fiery fist, emphasizing that Su Hong had managed to master this fusion in less than a month. He marveled at the boy's monstrous comprehension skills, and wondered aloud just how devastating his power would become if he successfully fused all 7 of his elemental attributes. Spreading his arms wide, the Grandmaster envisioned a future where the young prodigy fully matured, imagining Su Hong wielding a blinding, multicolored fusion of all 7 elements to obliterate a colossal alien emperor with a single, earth-shattering strike. Linzhou and Bai Mu sweat-dropped at the Grandmaster's wild imagination, awkwardly pointing out that he was severely overhyping the boy. They reminded him that while fusing 2 elements was an incredible feat, successfully combining all 7 was purely a fantasy. Coughing to hide his embarrassment, Qin Tianli regained his composure and told them to forget his outburst. His tone turned serious as he realized the massive responsibility now resting on his shoulders. He worried that if he left Su Hong alone to juggle all 7 attributes without intervention, the boy might eventually hit a wall trying to fuse a 3rd element and ruin his potential. If that happened, Qin Tianli believed he would become a sinner to humanity for failing to guide such a rare talent. Suddenly, Lindsay shouted out another startling realization, reminding the Grandmaster that Su Hong must also possess a special physique, as his raw physical strength alone was enough to completely overpower Bu Jingfeng before he had even used the elemental fusion. Annoyed by the delayed report, Qin Tianli scolded Lindsay for not mentioning such a crucial detail sooner. The instructors quickly discussed the sheer math behind the boy's power. Lindsay noted that Su Hong had managed to crush Bu Jingfeng's near 500 vitality, using his own base vitality of only 120. They concluded this massive physical amplification far surpassed even Wang Tiantuo's elite barbarian god body, solidifying their belief that Su Hong's physical constitution was truly monstrous. Staring toward the battered dorm building, Grandmaster Qin Tianli formulated a new plan. He declared that tomorrow he would organize a formal combat tournament to thoroughly test Su Hong's true combat power and vitality limits. To do this, he planned to pit the camp's top 3 elite trainees, Wang Tiantuo, Lin Xinghe, and Xiaonan, directly against Su Hong. With a determined glint in his eye, the Grandmaster stated he wanted to personally witness exactly what happened when an unprecedented monster like Su Hong clashed with the absolute strongest geniuses the training camp had to offer.
This is the end of the video. If you guys want to see the next part, then don't forget to subscribe and like the video.